Sean and I have been on and off for 4 years. Due to his female buddies who blur boundaries, we have argued countless times and broken up numerous times. Everyone believes I cannot leave Sean and will entangle him for life. After all, my love for Sean is too evident to the point that, shortly after each breakup, I am always the first to yield. Sean, your little wife is here again begging for reconciliation. Doesn't she know that every time she acts so humbly around you, she looks like a dog? At the friends' gathering, Rachel boldly draped her arm around Sean's neck and teased. This was another time Sean had a cold war with me for nearly 3 months because of her. But this time I did not argue or make a fuss. I simply calmly twisted the ring on my ring finger. No one knew that 3 days ago, I had just obtained a marriage certificate with Sean's archenemy. I appeared here for someone else. The phone vibrated at that moment. Wife, the flight is delayed, I might arrive a bit late, wait for me. Sitting in the corner, I calmly unlocked the phone and edited a text message. Throughout, I did not argue a single word with Rachel. This uncharacteristic behavior made the friends beside me, who had already stood up ready to break up a fight between Rachel and me, awkwardly sit back down with embarrassed smiles. Everyone knows that Rachel and I do not get along. Every time this female buddy gets close to Sean, I would turn against her. The most severe incident was when I pinned her to the ground and nearly ruined her appearance. Sean slapped me hard across the face. Lina, apologize. His voice was as cold as ice. This was the first time he'd ever laid a hand on me over Rachel. It was also the moment I finally woke up. After 4 years together, if he hadn't indulged her, how could Rachel have repeatedly meddled in our relationship, always playing the role of the female friend? 3 months should be enough for you to reflect, Lina, there won't be a next time. Indeed, there would be no next time. I stood up. Everyone became tense. Sister-in-law, don't be impulsive, today Sean's brother is returning from abroad, and Rachel is just here to welcome him. Yes, sister-in-law, Sean just treats Rachel as a buddy, in our eyes, she's more manly than men, so please don't be impulsive. Move aside. I raised an eyebrow, pushed aside the two blocking me. Under Rachel's vigilant gaze, I directly bypassed her and opened the door. Before closing the door, I could still hear their relieved discussions. Sean, you're still awesome. After giving sister-in-law the cold shoulder for nearly 3 months, upon meeting again, she's changed her personality for you. If this were before, with Rachel provoking her so openly, sister-in-law would have charged long ago. Sean sure knows how to train people. I found it amusing in my heart. I walked to a quiet place. When Gavin's call came through again, I pressed answer. Wife, I miss you so much. Nearly half an hour later, the other side reluctantly hung up. A whiff of smoke drifted from behind. I turned around. Sean, wearing a trench coat and dangling a cigarette, lazily blocked my path back. Can't stand me sitting with Rachel like that? Looking at my locked phone, he smirked, preferring to hide outside for so long rather than go back. Have you really changed? It's none of your business, I just had a call. Alright, Lina, stop pretending. Besides me, who would have the patience to chat with you outside for so long? He scoffed. Noticing my furrowed brows, he extinguished the cigarette. With a commanding tone, come back with me and apologize to Rachel. If she forgives you, we'll get back together. Be sensible, Lina. Rachel is the youngest among us guys, inevitably a bit spoiled, but we just treat her as a buddy. Such words, I do not know how many times I have heard in 4 years. Memories flashed like a lantern. Rachel, taking advantage of my absence, stripped naked and climbed into Sean's bed. When Sean was drunk, Rachel pretended to be me and, under the guise of being a buddy, pinned him against the wall and kissed him. In 4 years, such incidents were innumerable. I do not believe that Sean truly could not sense Rachel's attitude. Move aside. I raised my hand to push him. Where did this come from? But my wrist was tightly grasped by him. Sean stared at the ring on my ring finger, his expression changing constantly, and finally, he burst out laughing. Lina, who taught you this playing hard to get? I'm married. Back in the room. I ignored the suddenly vacant spot next to Sean. I directly sat in the corner, flipping through my phone. Seeing this, Sean's expression grew colder. He poured red wine into his mouth cup after cup. Some people really have no shame. To make Sean turn back, they even fabricate lies like being married. Do you really think you're made of gold, that Sean can't live without you? Just a worn-out good that's been played by Sean for 4 years, just like her early deceased mother, only knowing how to play tricks on men. I turned off the phone and suddenly smashed it onto Rachel's face. Try barking like a dog one more time. The tense atmosphere made no one around dare to speak. Sean furrowed his brows, his alcohol-laced gaze falling on me. Hearing Rachel's painful cries beside him, he set down his wine glass. Lina, apologize. Sean's voice was cold. Whenever I clashed with Rachel, he always stood on the other side. I sneered inwardly. My indifferent attitude made Sean's brows furrow deeper. In the past, as long as he spoke, even if I was unwilling inside, I would bow to Rachel first for the sake of our relationship. What? Angry from embarrassment? Did I say something wrong? Lina, you're just a cheap woman born with a mother but not raised by one. Rachel hid behind Sean, still habitually provoking me. She knew that no matter how excessive her words, Sean would ultimately choose to protect her. Rachel, don't talk to your sister-in-law like that. As expected, Sean just gently rubbed her head and brushed off her insults toward me. I suddenly smiled. I picked up the nearby red wine and poured it into a glass. Sean's eyes warmed, thinking I was finally willing to bow to Rachel. Rachel subconsciously extended her hand. With a malicious smile. Lina, oh, no. Big sister-in-law, do you know? Your toasting posture now looks even more like a dog. Is that so? I asked with a smile. The next second, while Rachel was completely unprepared, I smashed the wine glass, grabbed her hair, and poured the red wine mixed with shards and residue entirely into her mouth. Sean instantly pushed me away. Lina, are you crazy? Rachel was just being sharp-tongued and didn't really hurt you. Then do my mother and I deserve to be insulted? Blood flowed down from the corner of Rachel's lips. She leaned in Sean's arms, looking at me with fear and venom. I narrowed my eyes. Still looking? Rachel, it seems you don't want your eyes anymore. Lina. Sean could no longer hold back and warned me in a low voice. He bent down to pick up Rachel. The crowd finally reacted from the sudden incident, hurriedly helping Sean open the bathroom door to clean Rachel's wounds. I sat in place, clearly hearing the discussions inside growing louder. Sean, what are you really thinking? Rachel is your true buddy, she's been with us since childhood. What is that woman Lina? She's so crazy, why can't you let her go? She injured Rachel so severely, this can't just end like this. Then what do you want? As Sean's irritated voice came out, the room immediately fell silent. After a long pause, he spoke again. All right, I'll make Lina give Rachel an explanation. First, send Rachel to the hospital. Then, what about Gavin? Didn't the old man instruct us when we came that this time we're here to build a good relationship with him? Sean opened the door with a somber face. His good brothers behind him also came out one by one, glaring at me with shared enmity before supporting Rachel down the stairs. In the room, only the two of us remained. Sean rubbed his temples. Lina, you went too far this time, even if you're jealous of Rachel because of me, you can't really lay hands on her. When did Sean become so narcissistic? I didn't speak, just found it somewhat amusing. I took out a bank card and placed it on the table. I'll cover her medical expenses. Sean, we've already broken up. That night 4 years ago. Sean was drenched in rain all night, kneeling before my mother's portrait. Biting my lip corner. Lina, I beg you to look at me, let's be together, let me take care of you in place of your mother, okay? Looking at his reddened eyes, my heart softened. Then, it was Rachel's repeated provocations. When I was sick with a fever, on his way to buy medicine for me, Sean was pulled away by Rachel to sing. On my mother's memorial day, I sat alone in front of the tombstone, while nearby there was laughter. Rachel brought a barbecue grill and, with Sean's brothers, arm in arm, tricked him into drinking red wine. One incident after another, endless arguments over Rachel. I was already exhausted physically and mentally. Such an insecure love, I should have given up long ago. Lina, what do you mean? Sean gritted his teeth, incredulously pressing my shoulders. You actually initiated breaking up with me, Lina, how dare you? You're playing hard to get again, right? He stared at me unblinkingly. Yes, you have no family, only me left, how could you bear to give me up? As he spoke, Sean's brows relaxed. He lazily took out a cigarette, didn't light it, just held it in his mouth. Lina, don't make a fuss. You know I don't like you like this, playing hard to get doesn't work on me. Want to reconcile? Then follow me to the hospital to apologize to Rachel, I'll wait for you there. Lina, this is the last chance I'm giving you. He closed the door. From beginning to end, he didn't ask why I came here or why I hadn't left. 10 minutes later, the person I was waiting for finally arrived. Gavin waved away the bodyguards and walked to my side. Looking at the mess in the room, he raised an eyebrow. Dear wife? Arguing with my ex-boyfriend bro again? 16 times, wife. He questioned sarcastically, when I called you 16 times from the car, you ignored me, yet here you are losing your temper for your ex-boyfriend. Gavin's eyes were red with jealousy. Lina, tell the truth, in your heart, do I, this spare tire, matter at all compared to your ex-boyfriend? Gavin, my phone is smashed. Smelling the sourness in the air, I rarely explained. Who said you're a spare tire? I remember we're already legally married, Sean is the outsider to me. You mean it? Of course. Then for the wedding in a week, if I sent him an invitation, you mustn't get angry. Gavin, has your brain been kicked by a donkey? You. He suddenly hugged me and kissed me fiercely. Yes, kicked by a donkey. Gavin murmured between my lips. Who made my official announcement fail this time? Lina, I want everyone to know that you are mine now. I have no relatives or friends, my closest social circle is Sean and his brothers. So on the wedding day, I notified no one. 1 hour before the ceremony began. The guests had all arrived. They gathered, whispering, discussing what kind of person the bride was who could make the always carefree eldest son of the Gu family settle down and marry. Sean leaned annoyingly against the table corner. Furrowing his brows, listening to his brothers beside him boast about Gavin's decisive methods after inheriting and rising in the Gu family, and how a week ago, to please his new wife, he bought an entire plot of land as the current wedding venue. The Gu and Song families have always been incompatible in business. Naturally, Sean and Gavin's relationship was the same. If not for the Song family's recent difficulties needing the Gu Corporation to mediate, and grandfather pressuring him, Sean would never have appeared here today. Someone nearby came over flattering with a toast. Sean dealt with it coldly. His mind was not here at all, and he did not care whether Gavin was married or not. It had been over a week. Since he last left Lina alone, Lina had not contacted him for over a week. This was impossible in the past. Sean repeatedly rubbed Lina's number in the contacts. Should he call her? Or was this another new playing hard to get tactic by Lina, waiting for him to take the initiative to seek reconciliation? Sean's eyes flickered uncertainly. But the phone was suddenly snatched away. Rachel dissatisfiedly patted his shoulder. Sean, are we still brothers? I've called you so many times and you didn't respond. Today we're here to attend your archenemy's wedding, don't ruin things again like last time because of that cheap woman Lina. Come on. Rachel pulled him toward the stairs. Didn't your family's old man say when we came to use this opportunity to ease relations with Gavin and finalize the cooperation? I've already thought of a way to ease things. Gavin's bride is upstairs getting ready right now, think about it, even a crazy man like Gavin was seduced by her. Let's first build a good relationship with her, then have her convince Gavin to cooperate with the Song family, wouldn't that be perfect? As she spoke, she signaled Sean's brothers to distract the bodyguards at the stairwell. Pushing open the door, Sean impatiently raised his head and met eyes with me, wearing a haute couture wedding dress. Sean's pupils dilated instantly. I furrowed my brows tightly. Get out. Lina, how could you be here? After seeing it was me, Rachel exclaimed exaggeratedly. She looked me up and down, a deep jealousy flashing in her eyes. As if finally thinking of something, she sneered disdainfully. Lina, you're too shameless to reconcile with Sean. You even thought of sneaking to the second floor, putting on someone else's wedding dress to impersonate the bride. If we hadn't come, next step, would you just go with it and directly impersonate the bride to marry Gavin? TSK, is this your new tactic to attract Sean? Hurry up and take off the wedding dress. Rachel suddenly stepped forward to tear at my clothes. Lina, do you even know how important today's occasion is? If you damage the dress, can you afford to compensate? Fortunately, the real bride isn't here now. If you offend Gavin, even Sean can't protect you. Rachel, let go. The arguing voices had already drawn many people upstairs to watch. Seeing this, Rachel became even angrier. She righteously pointed at me. Make a fuss, Lina, you women with only romance in your brains, just make a fuss. As Sean's brother, I've done all I can for you today. You have no idea what disaster you've caused for Sean. This wedding dress was custom-made abroad by the eldest son of the Gu family specifically for his new wife. Now you've stolen and worn someone else's dress just to reconcile with Sean. When the Gu family comes over, I'll see how you explain. In the end, won't Sean have to clean up your mess? Is this real? Miss Rachel? Didn't the Gu family instruct that no outsiders are allowed on the second floor? Yes, Rachel, did you mistake the person? The second floor is Gavin's wife's changing room, with bodyguards stationed downstairs. How could someone easily get in here? This is the Gu family. The guests coming and going are naturally either rich or noble, seasoned in business. Although they hadn't seen me by Gavin's side before, they wouldn't be led by the nose by Rachel. Watching the surrounding bodyguards come upstairs, bowing to me one after another. Some had already sensed something wrong and hurriedly smoothed things over for Rachel. Haha. Miss Rachel, I guess you're like me, happy that Gavin is marrying a virtuous wife today, and got a bit tipsy. Come, let's go downstairs first. Rachel obviously lacked that person's insight. She forcefully pushed him away, her face red with anger. Why don't any of you believe me? I absolutely couldn't be wrong, even I could distract the bodyguards to sneak up. She, Lina, this crazy woman, in 4 years to reconcile with Sean, even injured me. What couldn't she do? Yes, sister-in-law, we can all testify for Rachel. Besides, Sean is still here. We've known you for so long. Hurry and take off the wedding dress for the real bride. Don't make Sean lose face in front of outsiders. Hearing Rachel mention her last injury, Sean's brothers immediately stepped out from the crowd, protecting her behind them. Their gazes toward me were fearful and vigilant, obviously afraid that if words didn't agree, I'd lay hands on Rachel again. You do understand me. I tidied my clothes and jewelry with a half-smile. Lina, take off the wedding dress and come with me. Sean's face was pale, his eyes fixed on me. As if proving something, he hoarsely said. Change out of the clothes, and I agree to reconcile with you. Come, I'll take you home. More and more bodyguards, hearing the noise, rushed over. They blocked the doorway. The leader bowed to me, then suddenly punched the face of the bodyguard previously stationed at the stairwell. What are you doing? Didn't Gavin instruct that when Madam is on the second floor, no one is to disturb? Sean's face grew paler. As if he hadn't heard, he stepped forward and grabbed my wrist. Lina, stop making a fuss, come back with me. Didn't you dislike me smoking before? As long as you come back, I'll quit now. The young master who hadn't changed his habits for me in 4 years now said he would quit smoking. I raised an eyebrow, about to speak. Steady footsteps entered the room from outside. Gavin's gaze fell on Sean's grip on the back of my hand. His voice was unprecedentedly stern. What? Young Master Sean? Where are you taking my new wife? Or rather, Gavin lowered his eyes. Can you, Sean, now represent the entire Song family to be enemies with my Gu family? The hand Sean held my wrist with couldn't stop trembling. He could no longer deceive himself. Gavin's words were clear. I was Gavin's wife, the one he was marrying today. Gavin, it's a misunderstanding, my friends and I just mistook the person. Amid the intersecting gazes of the crowd, Sean difficultly released my hand, his voice almost squeezed through his teeth. Unlike Gavin, he hadn't taken over the Song family yet. With the Song Corporation's current situation, he couldn't afford to offend the Gu family. Rachel's face had completely changed by now. She shouted uncontrollably. How is this possible? Gavin, are you sure you're not blind? How could Lina be your wife? Are you crazy? Leaving so many young women outside untaken, marrying such a piercing slap sound. Rachel was subdued on the ground by the Gu family's bodyguard choking her neck, unable to utter another word. Sorry, made a fool of myself, everyone, encountering such a stupid woman, I always can't help but itch to act. Gavin took the handkerchief from the bodyguard, wiped his hands, then raised a smile again. You all know I have a bad temper, those who offend my wife, I'll handle personally. Does anyone have other matters? No one dared to speak. Sean's brothers, who were arrogant moments ago standing up for Rachel, now hid in the corner, heads full of cold sweat. They couldn't afford to offend. Until the ceremony began. In the hall, people's cheerful chatter gradually rose. Amid the guests' compliments, Gavin personally held my hand to the stage and put the ring on me. He took the host's microphone, his gaze focusing on the corner. Everyone, please remember my wife Lina's name, offending her is offending me, Gavin, I don't want today's incident to happen a second time. Right, young Master Sean? In the corner, Sean's fingertips turned white. After a long time, he raised his wine glass and said a yes. Halfway through the wedding, Rachel had already been personally driven back by the Gu family bodyguards. The Luo family people clearly saw her injuries but dared not say a word. After the Gu family bodyguards left, Rachel's father, learning the incident, ignored Rachel's cries and slaps, gave her a hard slap, and immediately severed father-daughter ties. Sean's brothers also didn't escape. After healing their wounds, they were sent abroad overnight by their families. After the ceremony, outside the restroom, Sean blocked me. He reeked of alcohol, his eyes bloodshot. Why? Lina? Why only 3 months? Lina, you know the relationship between Gavin and me, why did you have to marry him? His voice broke with sobs. You're seeking revenge on me, right, Lina? You resent me for this Cold War lasting too long, resent me for leaving you alone that day, resent me for favoring Rachel. Lina, you've succeeded. Tears fell from Sean's eyes. I regret it now. Lina, you don't really love Gavin, right? Divorce him. I'm willing to change. Lina, you don't like me smoking. I won't smoke. I'll keep distance from Rachel. We'll never argue again. Give me another chance, Lina. Looking at Sean's broken appearance now, my heart was unmoved. In 4 years, if he had begged me even once, I would have agreed. But there are no ifs in the world. It's too late, Sean. I'm already married. You're wrong, I love Gavin. Sean was stunned. How is that possible? Lina? Only 3 months. It's not 3 months. It's 4 years. In the repeated arguments and cold wars with Sean, my feelings for him had long been exhausted. I won't be trapped in this relationship for life. Marrying Gavin has nothing to do with you, Sean, stop being self-sentimental. I pushed him away, keeping distance. Lina, are you still blaming me for being too close to Rachel, because... Enough, Sean. I interrupted him. He never explained these to me before. Now, I don't want to hear it. Wife. The person behind extended his hand to pull me into his arms. With possessive narrowed eyes. Young Master Sean? I heard from the assistant you have a cooperation to discuss with the Gu family. What? Now you don't want to talk? Sean returned home reeking of alcohol. That night, he was mercilessly scolded by his grandfather. Dazed, he lay over the toilet dry heaving. Thinking of Lina peacefully in Gavin's arms, he uncontrollably reddened his eyes again. What Sean didn't say was that he wasn't the Song family's only choice. His father had many illegitimate children outside. Since his mother's death, if not for grandfather's care, his father might have remarried long ago and openly brought those illegitimate children home. But grandfather wouldn't always favor him. Those outside also shared blood with him. This cooperation with the Goo Corporation was the Song family's test for him. But he still failed. With no outsiders, Sean no longer needed to maintain dignity, collapsing miserably on the floor. "Young Master Sean? I heard from the assistant you have a cooperation to discuss with the Goo family." "What? Now you don't want to talk?" He involuntarily recalled Gavin's dangerous eyes then. On one side, career and future. On the other, his beloved. Sean couldn't remain indifferent, humbly negotiating with Gavin in front of Lina. He fled. Then, it was grandfather's disappointed expression. How he wished everything he experienced and saw today was a dream. Clearly, if given a bit more time. Clearly, just one step away. He could inherit the Song family and marry Lina home. Sean sat at the bar, shakily pouring himself another glass of wine. He regretted it. He shouldn't have pushed Lina away repeatedly for Rachel. He was just accustomed, thinking Lina would always wait in place. Rachel and his brothers were just stepping stones Sean used to stabilize his position. Their families behind them were intricately connected, all tools Sean could utilize. Only Lina was alone. So when facing choices, Sean subconsciously favored the other side. He knew Lina would always wait in place. But now she had left too. The night was deep. Sean, drunk and hazy, watched the butler bring in a woman. Him. Crying hoarsely that she was wrong. She shouldn't have been willful, she was too impulsive. Asking if he could shelter her, give her another chance. "Is it Lina? Lina, you finally regretted it." He lovingly kissed the woman's head. "Don't cry, Lina, it's good you're back. I forgive you, it's my fault, I wasn't good enough, let's start over." The woman's body stiffened, but she still helped him to bed. When undressing him, he was still asking, "Is it Lina? Lina, have you regretted it?" In a place he couldn't see, jealousy and determination flashed in the woman's eyes. She kissed his lips devotedly. "I am Lina, Sean, I am your Lina. I regret it." Sean was awakened by a fierce slap. Cold water poured on his face. Grandfather showed him a disappointed expression for the first time. Sean's heart chilled. He turned his head confusedly. Rachel, naked and wrapped in the blanket, was still clamoring. "Sean and I truly love each other, we've had relations, he must marry me." Sean felt his head explode instantly. Lost memories surfaced like seawater. He sat up incredulously. "Rachel, you schemed against me?" The Luo family caused a scene at the Song family. The father, who had already severed ties with Rachel, insisted Sean take responsibility for her. Otherwise, he'd release the video of Sean abandoning her after the affair. "Rachel, didn't you say you treated me as a brother?" Sean darkened his face. He didn't know Rachel had secretly recorded a video. The success of events exhausted him physically and mentally. With his last hope, he looked at Rachel. "If you really treat me as a brother, explain to your father yourself that our relation was accidental, and you have no feelings for me." "Sean, what brother could sleep with you in one bed? What brother could stay single by your side consistently for 4 years? Sean, we've kissed. On Lina's birthday, she saw it with her own eyes. My feelings for you, I don't believe you don't know, you must take responsibility for me. What girl is really willing to be just brothers with a guy? Sean, I like you, you must marry me." As Rachel burst into tears, the tightly strung string in Sean's mind snapped. "I didn't expect to see Sean again at his wedding," he muddled through the ceremony. "Only when seeing me in the audience did a spark light in his eyes. Crazy, only knowing the sweetness after losing it. What were you doing earlier? Gavin jealously covered my eyes. Wife, don't look at him, dirty. Below the stage, only the Luo family group was smiling. After long consideration, Sean's grandfather still agreed to the marriage between the Luo and Song families. And paid a great price to retrieve the video from Rachel. After all, if the content spread, the impact on the Song family would be too great. Sean's brothers successively raised glasses in the crowd to thank the guests. They were Sean's father's illegitimate sons. The day after the Song family old man agreed to the Luo marriage, they were brought back to the Song family. When leaving, Sean, ignoring Gavin's sharp gaze, insisted on blocking our car. He looked deeply at me once, then shifted his gaze. Gavin, the cooperation the Song family mentioned last time, are you still interested in discussing? Gavin raised an eyebrow. You came just for this? Of course. Is Gavin interested in the Song family's overseas projects? Interesting. Sean seemed changed. He discussed the cooperation advantages between GU and Song corporations eloquently beside Gavin, with a humble attitude. I listened drowsily. When getting out to refresh, I noticed a gaze full of hatred behind me. Turning around. Lina, you didn't expect it, right? The one who ultimately married Sean is me, not you. Rachel, in a red gown, sneered at me. She hadn't had it easy these days. The Luo family severed ties with her. Desperate, she had to depend on Sean. After becoming the Song family's daughter-in-law, the Luo family restored contact. But Sean didn't love her. He even hated her. Rachel could never forget that night, Sean begging her to stay in a humble tone she'd never seen. What she has now was obtained that night by donning Lina's shell. It was what Lina didn't want. This deepened Rachel's hatred for Lina. You bitch, who couldn't you marry? But you had to marry Gavin, always in my way. Lina, if not for you, Sean would have been mine long ago. Why make me go through such efforts now, stiffening my relationship with Sean to this point? No wonder your mom died so early, you're just a jinx. Ah. Rachel covered her face screaming, incredulous. Lina, you dare hit me in the Song family? She rushed out angrily to call people. But the people around, upon seeing it was me, no one dared heed her. Even the Song family bodyguards pretended to patrol away, turning a blind eye. This had nothing to do with else. Just that Sean's position in the Song family was now delicate. His father bringing all his illegitimate sons back home was obviously with the old man's tacit approval. They naturally wouldn't offend the Gu family and me for a Sean with uncertain prospects. Rachel naturally saw this too. Furious, she directly tried to attack me. Rachel, you're crazy. But midway, she was stopped by the arriving Sean. He gripped Rachel's arm without mercy, fiercely slapping her. Today is our wedding. As the Song family's daughter-in-law, how can you have no upbringing? Who allowed you to attack a guest? Rachel's tears fell like that. Surrounded by so many people. Sean gave her no face, even hitting her in public. Sean, see clearly, I am your wife. Lina no longer belongs to you. I gave up everything to marry you. Is this how you treat me on our wedding day? Rachel screamed hoarsely. Sean was unmoved, he cooled his brows. Isn't this your own choice, Rachel? No one forced you to climb into my bed. I only treat you as a brother. Rachel ran out in grief and indignation. Such a scene suddenly reminded me of every time Rachel provoked me. Sean would protect her behind him, scolding me. Lina, as the big sister-in-law, act like one. Rachel is just outspoken, she didn't mean it. I suddenly found it utterly boring. Turned to leave. Lina. Behind, Sean saw Gavin's figure approaching closer. He retracted his hand. Sorry, and forget me. I sneered coldly. In the car, Gavin gently touched my head. Why such a bad complexion? I knew I shouldn't have brought you here. Dear wife. He started sarcastically again. If I don't let you see your old flame's wedding scene, how can you give up on him? I chuckled. My acquaintance with Gavin was indeed because of Sean. At that time, he had just been secretly tricked by Sean, angrily wanting to get back at him. After inquiring around, he found me. I was severely ill then. Sean went to buy medicine for me and never returned. I opened the door and directly fainted into Gavin's arms. Gavin was scared soft then. He carried me into the room, fumbling around to find fever-reducing medicine for me. After I woke, the first words I heard were him rubbing his face, incredulous. "No way, Miss Lina? Am I that ugly? Making you faint from ugliness upon seeing me?" He disdainfully tore open the fever medicine packet, poured water, and fed it to me. "Isn't this the bitter life you're living? Sean, this scumbag, since he treats you badly, why not switch to someone else? Why hang yourself on one tree? I think I'm pretty good, at least in treating women. I'm better than him." I soothingly kissed him. "Gavin, perhaps I've long given up on Sean." His eyes lit up instantly. But he pretended to be nonchalant, his index finger casually tapping the seat. When?" I was about to answer when suddenly my nose itched, and I sneezed heavily. Gavin immediately tensed up. He fiercely kicked over the driver's seat, scolding the driver. "Didn't I say my wife has rhinitis? You're not allowed to smoke while working?" After the driver's trembling denial, he hurriedly sniffed his sleeves. "Wife, where's the smoke smell? You know I never smoke." I deliberately furrowed my brows. "It's vinegar smell, Gavin, you're souring me." "Lina, you. Also, give the driver a raise, you scared him today." Gavin completely relaxed. "Alright, I'll listen to wife." 1 year later. Rachel gave birth to a boy but died in the hospital. Sean eagerly used this child to compete for benefits with a group of illegitimate sons at grandfather songs. Rachel's funeral was handled hastily. Later, grandfather's song passed away, father had a stroke. A always low-key illegitimate son inherited the Song family fortune. I wondered why not Sean? Wasn't Sean coming to Gavin back then to discuss cooperation and get Gavin's support? So, I refused. Gavin held our daughter, smiling triumphantly. The foolish act of funding a rival's rise, I wouldn't do. What Gavin didn't say was that he liked a girl. But that girl was too stubborn. He could only create chance encounters when the rival went out. Secretly knocking on her door.